and some tips for sustainability and energy consumption within Jamestown, and also a little bit of an inside look at the power plant, which is exciting because it's a big part of our skyline, and yet a lot of us don't interact with it or don't understand how it impacts our everyday lives. So that's a really exciting event that's coming up. It's the 4th installment in our speaker series, and from now I'm going to pass it over to Matt Mazgai. Thank you.
Thanks, Simone. Thanks, everyone, for coming. As you can see, we have an all-star lineup of panelists to talk about Chautauqua County economy and business development. And I anticipate a lively, engaging discussion. What we're going to start off with first, though, is a video. Many of you have probably seen it, but this is something that I think will set the stage for the rest of the discussion. And it's something that I've watched, maybe a dozen times, and it gives me chills every time. We're going to roll a video real quick, and then I'll introduce our panelists, and we'll get down to business. Thanks.
This is really, really amazing, the variety of temperatures and weather.
I was just astounded by the kindness of people. People are enthusiastic, and so it's a bit infectious.
I think that it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, and it has so many good things going for it.
I just love the beauty of the area and very diverse cultural, intellectual assets, the agribusiness, the agriculture. And it's a beautiful place, and the people are very, very nice here.
Everybody's very friendly, willing to help out. It's really a nice community to raise a family, very welcoming. It's an easy place to live.
The people of Jamestown, real friendly. I have my regulars that walk in, we interact, I know them by first name basis, and you don't find that.
We have a lot of opportunities here at this school that you can't find in any other place in this county. And I would dare say in Western New York. I think it's the best around. And it's a really nice small town, even though I don't really think of it as a small town.
It has kind of a small town feel, but it's not so small that there's nothing to do. It's a big enough place. It is a city, so there's enough people here to keep things busy.
We're not a major metropolitan area, but the amount of cultural events going on here relative to our population is pretty incredible.
We do have an active artists community here. We have a civic center here that has live productions. There's a number of local theater troupes, so any given weekend there's live performance.
Music seems awesome. We have so many musicians here. It's so musician and artist heavy, and there's just so much to do. We have different festivals, there's different venues that allow live music.
It's an urban context with lots of culture and art and great places to eat and to see, and things to do. But within 5 minutes, you're out in beautiful countryside, rolling hills. It's the best cycling country that I've ever lived in.
Now that we have an 8-week-old daughter, we're really excited about taking her out on the boat and taking her on our favorite trails and taking her camping. There's so many different things that you can do in this area that you just don't necessarily think about until you actually look and you're like, oh wow, I could do something every single day that is amazing.
You take advantage of things that are in the area like skiing and hiking and the lake, and I think people take that for granted because we have just this natural beauty in the area.
What is so exciting about Jamestown and that people don't realize is that you can do anything here that you really want to. You can't do that in LA anymore. I mean, if you want to open up a little bakery in Los Angeles, practically impossible unless you have a huge bankroll. It's a very reasonable standard of living here. That's refreshing.
The cost of living here really can't be beat. It's easy to afford a home for a family.
Here you're able to buy a beautiful old home with amazing woodwork. You're able to start a business. You're able to really define what you want your future to be. You're able to start a family and have your kid go to a good school.
I'm seeing more young professionals come to the area and more young professionals really find value in this, and some are coming home and some people are like me, and we are coming from a place that's not anywhere near here, and we're kind of creating our professional life and our new life here in this area. And so I think there's energy in that and revitalization that's exciting.
within the next 10 years, there's going to be huge growth.
It will truly become the year-round calendar of comedy programming and the nation's first museum of comedy to exist.
If somebody's really smart, they're going to start filling in these empty buildings on 3rd Street.
It's a perfect place for a young person to come and really get an opportunity.
To me, Jamestown is a diamond that hasn't been discovered.
Our future looks very positive.
Be smart, tap into what you have here in the city.
If you can work from anywhere, choose to work from here.
You will get a tremendous quality of life.
Take a chance. Come visit.
Special thanks to the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation for giving me a copy of that. And I don't know about all of you, but once the scene of him on the bike hits, I had chills for the rest of the video. I mean, that's kind of how powerful that is to me, and kind of outlining not only the good things happening in Jamestown, but obviously there were shots there of the entire county. So, now I'm all jazzed up for this, even more jazzed for this speaker series. This is great. As Simone said, my name is Matt Mazguy. I'm an attorney at Phillips Lytle. Phillips Lytle is sponsoring this event, so I want to give a quick shout out to my firm for that. Without further ado, I'll introduce our panelists. As you all know, they are a star-studded group. With first our county executive, Vince Horgan, here on the end. He's spent time in the area since 1955. I don't know, I wouldn't have guessed that, obviously, with how young Vince looks. He spent a number of years in the Air Force, achieving the grade of colonel with 27 years of service. He returned to the area in 1998. He was involved in the Red Cross of the county and the Red Cross of Southwestern New York. He became a county legislator in 2012, county executive in 2014, and he will be retiring at the end of the year. So thank you, Vince. Todd Tranum, President and CEO of the Chautauqua County Chamber of Commerce, Executive Director of the Manufacturers Association of the Southern Tier, President of Dream It Do It, Western New York. It's a lot of titles, Todd. You're keeping busy. He went out west for a number of years and came home with his young family and recently celebrated the marriage of his daughter in the area, which is great to hear. So thanks, Todd. Rebecca Yanis, Southwestern grad, Director of Development in the City of Dunkirk, where she's working closely with the Mayor, Willie Rosas. Rebecca has a master's in urban and regional planning and urban planning, an example of someone who went away to school in Buffalo, then Albany, and now is back in Western New York doing great things in Dunkirk. So thank you, Rebecca. And I think our next panelist deserves a standing ovation. Chase Churchill, Jamestown Electroplating. His wife just had a baby. He came here to speak on this panel. Thank you so much, Chase. Chase, let's give him an applause for a baby first. Thank you. I've been there. It's a lot of hard work for the father, right? Chase is the president of Jamestown Electroplating, originally from Jamestown, went to Virginia for college, came back to the area working in financial services. He joined Jamestown Electroplating in 2009 and has worked up the ranks from project manager, finishing department manager, sales manager, and now is president. So thank you again, Chase. And last but not least, Jonathan Weston. He is with Panama Rocks and put on the wildly successful Wild America Festival. From Panama, moved to Washington, D.C., and spent nearly 10 years working for Congress and was involved in U.S.-China relations. Moved back to the area with his wife, who is from Busti, in 2013. Started running the family business Panama Rocks in 2014. He's on the board of the Visitors Bureau and other boards, but on the Visitors Bureau, he's able to promote ecotourism and provide his expertise in online marketing through Facebook. So thank you, Jonathan. And now, I want to first start by throwing out a question to the entire panel, and you can answer in turn. Something that's common between all of you is that everyone is from the area or has ties to the area, moved away and came back. I'm interested to hear these types of stories. We can start with Vince.
Well, for me, Uncle Sam gave me an invitation that I couldn't refuse back when we had the draft right as it ended. But I launched off on a 28-year career in the Air Force. But throughout that whole time, my childhood growing up, even though I was from Cleveland, was on Chautauqua Lake and Bemis Point. My mom and dad retired in the little tiny cottage they bought, which we bought from them, is no longer little. But there was always something about this place that I knew someday we would come back. Luckily, my wife felt the same way. Our kids feel the same way. Our whole family, we have marks on the wall as they grew up. So while I traveled around the world and moved 28 times or something like that, there was always something about Bemis Point and Chautauqua County that was home. It is wonderful to be able to have the opportunity to travel the world, to do great things, but at some point you realize you're looking for a place to, quote, well, for me it was retire, but not really. It was a place to come home to. And I cannot think of a more inviting place where you can do great things. You can be all you can be here in this county. You're not lost in a big city. You can deal with challenges. You can meet fabulous people that are making a difference. So for me, to be able to come home back here was really the dream. It was a dream in addition to flying some great airplanes around the world. So I think we see this a lot. There's always something pulling you back here. In my case, parents were part of that. Family was part of that. But, oh, what a wonderful place with beautiful memories and great natural resources. So that's my story about coming home.
Thanks, Vince. Todd?
Ditto.
All right, Rebecca.
Just what more I can say there. Actually, I fell in love. That's what brought me back. That was part of the story. I was in Phoenix, actually, having a really good time. I fell in love. I missed my family. You know, my roots were here, and I always had this feeling that I had more work to do. This community, this region was very good to me and my family, and I was educated here for the most part. Took courses at JCC while I was at high school at Cassadaga Valley. I went to SUNY Fredonia, met some really good people, and built some strong connections here in a strong base, and just felt like I got to come home. There's so much this area has to offer, and there was so much I felt I could do to help the area as well. And, living in Phoenix and you're going through that transition of starting to think about marriage and a family, I couldn't imagine raising a family there compared to the opportunity of raising a family here in Chautauqua County and all this area has to offer in terms of our educational system, in terms of the great people, in terms of a sense of community, a sense of safety, and in general, the cost of living here. You can go quite a ways on a few bucks here in Chautauqua County. So, the drivers, again, love, family, and just a sense that I had more work to do.
For me, it was very similar to your stories. The great physical environment and geography. I grew up on Chautauqua Lake. I've always been a lake girl, and I knew that if I ever had the chance to come back, I would want to be a part of that. I graduated with my master's in urban planning from the University at Buffalo, and when I graduated, I really couldn't find a job in my major right away. So I figured, all right, I'm going to get my experience, and the first place I found it was in Albany. I stayed there for about 1.5 years, but something always made me think, why not Chautauqua? Why not Dunkirk, New York? Why not Jamestown? Why can't we be like those big cities like Buffalo, like Albany? And I wanted to come back and create something like that. And to create a place where when students my age graduated could find that job right away. So when I got the opportunity to be the Director of Planning and Development for the City of Dunkirk, I said that checked a lot of my check boxes. The waterfront right away is what drew me in, but also the fact that we could create this great community, this great city that could be a place where young professionals could live and find that job right out of college is really what brought me back to the area.
I think you're probably going to have a lot of similar answers here.
Yeah, it's, I mean, and something that's similar between everyone is that there was a time, and there was a time where you kind of needed to. Sounds like that was what Rebecca was saying. There's also the draw of education outside the county. Kind of, you have to get out there to be able to get an advanced degree or something else of that nature. So, you know, everyone seems to have a draw outside the county to be able to come back or to even appreciate it. So, you know, if there's additional insight on your experience, that'd be great.
I think that you covered most of it there, but I think for me it was family was a big one. I had a job opportunity that existed back in the area, so I decided I'd explore that. But overall, the quality of life, cost of living, living on the lake, the geography. I love to ski, so having 2 ski resorts within 45 minutes or so is really nice. And it's a fantastic place to raise a family. As I grew up here, I remember so many wonderful times of just visiting different places in the county, and all really, really good memories. And being in Virginia, it was great down there. There weren't really definite season changes, and that's something I kind of enjoy about up here. But I think that those probably are the main reasons.
Jonathan.
How old was your child?
2 days.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my daughter turned 2 yesterday as well. So 2 days,
All
2 years. Family. We moved back for family. I mean, there's a lot of benefits that we saw from coming back. We knew the cost of living, schools, family in the area, the quality of life being high. There's a lot of things to do. But I worked very hard to develop a career in U.S.-China affairs, but when I looked at my future of working 10, 12-hour days and weekends, and my wife's from Bust-I, we got married, as you mentioned, and I didn't relish a future where I didn't see my kid. So we came back. We didn't know if Panama Rocks would be even enough for one person's salary out of a 2-income family. We didn't know if we'd have income stability. We saved up for quite a while, but those personal, emotional factors outweighed the economic factors, at least in the short term. We had faith that we could make it work here, and it's been one of the best decisions we've made.
That's great, thank you. And all your stories are so, they hit home to me. I was away, I came back, and I was actually on my list of things. The next thing to open up to the panel was giving the sales pitch for the county. I think we've hit that with everyone's story to move home, because really, the motivation or the draw to bring people back hits all of those points. And I think that's moving forward needs to be an initiative of everyone who lives and works here to try to sell our area to those who are outside the county. So Vince, let me spend a couple minutes talking to you. If you could give a brief summary of kind of some highlights of the county. Not saying that you can't do it, but there's so much going on that I'd like to hear some of your highlights.
Well, when I took office as the county executive in January 2014, 3 months later, ConAgra came in with armed guards and laid off 600 people. That was the worst day of my life. Facing employees that had lost their jobs, they were angry, and they looked at me personally, and I took it pretty personal. And I realized, though, these things will happen, and the biggest challenge we have is pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps and moving forward, and how we're going to motivate and lead and do everything we can to continue moving forward, to embrace opportunity, and good things will happen, and they are happening. The state is investing a lot of money in this county. I don't need to tell you about the National Comedy Center. We have the web.com tour back here, $10 million DRI down in Jamestown. Rebecca was just smiling from ear to ear when she worked so hard to get $2.5 million for the city of Dunkirk and the pier. Phoenix is coming. Cummins hiring 300 people since March, and on it goes. The Sullivan Harbor Hotel. We are now seeing economic development that is taking root, and all you have to do is listen to the whispers, listen to the buzz. There are great things happening, but I'll tell you, I am convinced the way that's happening is with strong leadership at the very local level, at the city level, at the town level, the economic development teams all over, whether it's Westfield, whether it's Dunkirk, whether it's Jamestown. People are working 24/7, and it's paying off, and we're getting noticed. I used to sit on the, well, I do. I sit on the Western New York Regional Commission, and, you know, all we would hear about is Buffalo and Buffalo Billion, and we got this and the Buffalo there and 716 and Canal Side. And, you know, I'm saying to myself, it's got to be our turn. And sure enough, our turn is happening. I can't think of a better time to be in Chautauqua County as a young professional. This morning I was talking to the kids at Falconer's government class from probably 45 minutes. And looking at those kids out there, and I said, this is your time. This is our time when Chautauqua County is really moving. And that's our story. We're on the move, and we're thriving. Yes, we have challenges. We have tremendous challenges with our drug epidemics, but everybody has those, but we're going to work through those. We see our healthcare industries just doing great stuff, both with WCA, UPMC, and Brooks and Kaleida. Our tourism and hospitality industry is cooking. Manufacturing, we have a lot of success in manufacturing. We do have some disappointments as companies come and go, but in every sector, we are doing very well. I don't know. I think the biggest thing is tenacity. It's my favorite word. You just keep at it every day. We have a great economic development team with the IDA and our economic development folks, but so does Dunkirk, so does Westfield, Jamestown. Everybody is cooking, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be here. So I sort of forgot the question, but it does get me excited, but
you got
it's
me pumped
because
up,
of great people.
Yeah. That's great. And, you know, I think it reaffirms how I'm feeling, and I hope everyone else is feeling about the momentum that the county has and some of the exciting projects that are going on. I know that there are a lot of naysayers or people that will say, you know, that'll never get done. What is your response to them?
Well, there's fewer and fewer, and you know what? I just walk right by them. There's fewer and fewer naysayers. We recently have the Workforce Investment Board does the CAP intern program, and we have college interns. They're college graduates, and they intern. And this last time when I met with them, with Katie Geis, every single one of them had an opportunity this summer to work in a business. Many were being hired, and they were talking about what neat stuff is going on. There wasn't what I've heard in the past, well, there's no jobs, we're going to have to leave and go from there. It's here. So it is happening. The naysayers, I was talking to Rebecca earlier, there's always those that will say, oh, it won't happen. Oh, we don't have, you know, a Phoenix, we didn't break ground right now, or DRI, it's taken too long. You're always going to have that. But you know what? Tenacity. You keep forging forward. And I will say 5 years from now, when I'm retired, I can't wait to be in this county. There are so many neat and exciting things from the south in Jamestown to the north in Dunkirk, out towards Silver Creek and Westfield. I don't care where you're going to go, there's good things happening.
Yes. Can you maybe identify one or two difficulties, either self-imposed through the government I'm thinking maybe municipal consolidation or top-down state-imposed requirements that are holding us back or inhibiting our development.
The state imposes many of these things, and I'll tell you what, I can't do much about them, so I just set them aside. I focus on what I can do something about. I am convinced 5 to 10 years from now, this county will continue to cluster, will continue to have more shared opportunities, will have more regional solutions. When we come together as a region, we have so much more capacity than when we sit there in our individual silos. I don't care if it's our schools, I don't care if it's our utility systems, water projects, wherever it is. The vision, you know what I think is exciting about the National Comedy Center, is not just Jamestown. That's the place that the National Comedy Center is. But people are going to come there. They're going to move out. They're going to go to Dunkirk. They're going to the wineries. They're going to the PGA tournament. They're moving all over this county. And so I think a regional focus, regional solutions are really the future. But the hard part is getting people to realize that is a win-win. It's not a win-lose. And I think generations change that. I think the older generation is afraid of it. I think younger generations embrace that. But I see that as one of the key aspects of moving our county to the next level, is that regional focus. So I'm excited about that, but it is tough because you have to realize some people feel threatened by losing their particular little piece of the rock, but we can't survive in that mode.
It's a beautiful segue to my next question, which is what role do young professionals play in the future of the county, and what can young people do to further the development and success of Chautauqua County?
Young people bring new attitudes. The millennials, right? We all want millennials. Oh, it's so good to see you guys. We want you here. But you know what you bring? You bring a fresh approach. You bring a fresh attitude. You don't sit there and say, that'll never work. You say, I got a great idea. The entrepreneur spirit. This is what's going to bring the county really into the next level. Us that are the baby boomers, we're pretty well set in our ways. We're pretty well there. But young people bring new ideas, new thoughts, new relationships. One of the reasons that I'm not running for a second term, I firmly believe turnover is a good thing. I accomplished some things. I'm very excited where the county is. But I believe, I don't care who you are, new energy, new ideas, new relationships, that's what spurs growth. And if you sit there and stay in the same position or the same leadership, we all get stagnant. So you guys are the catalyst for the next level that is coming, embracing. Walkable, bikeable streets and the stuff going on in Dunkirk, the Central Connection with SUNY Fredonia, the village of Fredonia, out to the pier and Little Chadwick Bay Village. This is where we're going to see more and more people that want to come to be a part of that. So you guys bring that fresh approach and the fresh ideas. And the old story of I tried that, it won't work. We'll all retire and we'll sit there and we can't wait to come back to do neat stuff, to go to Sauce. I took my wife to Sauce the other night. And you know, we said, wow, this is pretty cool. I'll be honest with you, my generation, I mean, it's a new generation that's doing these great things in Jamestown. So,
thank you. We're going to move on to Todd next. Todd, I read off a number of different titles. Can you give the crowd a little bit of a primer on what your role is at the Chamber of Commerce and your other entities?
Sure. At the end of the day, our job is to help create an even better, more viable business environment here in Chautauqua County. And we do that through a number of initiatives. We work hard to help drive foot traffic and internet traffic and help particularly our small businesses figure out ways to increase their sales. We help businesses connect with other businesses. We're kind of a networking organization of sorts. We do a lot of advocacy on behalf of our members in Albany as well as locally. We spend enormous amount of our time also working with our businesses to help them identify health insurance solutions. The market gets a bit confusing, always changes happening. Some of our good partners from Lawley Benefits Group are here. They've worked closely with us on this issue over the years. And then I think one of the most important roles we have is the ability to convene groups, diverse cross sectors of our economy around some of the most important issues we're facing. And any business in this room and any business in the community will tell you the number one issue is finding the workforce that these businesses need to continue to do business as well as to grow in the future. You go across this country and you talk to site selectors, you talk to other communities, the number one issue is workforce and finding that workforce. And I'm a strong believer that we've got all the elements here in Chautauqua County to truly have a competitive advantage over other regions. We're about the right size to bring together all the key stakeholders that need to come together. And we've been doing that work through, and we help launch, we're a stakeholder in it. Justin Haniff, who's here. Justin, big round of applause for
Justin.
An impressive millennial. Heads up the Chautauqua County Education Coalition, which is the organization in the county that's doing a lot of the work of bringing diverse organizations together around this specific issue. And it's interesting as I look across the country, all these other communities are starting similar initiatives, but we're a bit of ahead of the curve in terms of what we've been doing. I think Vince's leadership around these types of topics and others in the community has been incredibly important to it. But I think there is one area, and we can get into a discussion about the regulatory challenges of doing business in New York and taxes and workers' comp costs, so on and so forth. To Vince's point, sometimes we need to set that aside and focus on the things we can have an impact on, and one of them is definitely workforce, and it is the key to the competitiveness of our businesses in this community going forward.
Thank you. So can you provide a little bit of meat on what the Education Coalition is, what students you're approaching, teaching, what's the core curriculum, and what's the job positions that people entering that program are suited for?
Justin, you want to come down? Thanks. So the coalition, again, has been working with a variety of stakeholders in the community. So we've got people who work in early childhood development. We've got businesses, we've got economic development professionals, we've got the school districts at the table. And kind of the three core areas that group has focused on, and it took a while to get there. I mean, you got to think about trying to bring a group of about 60 organizations to consensus. But once we got there, we really started getting traction. So the group selected to focus on what do we need to do early in the development process to make sure kids are ready for kindergarten. And we can debate what kindergarten readiness is, so on and so forth. But I think we all get the gist of it, that if we don't make smart, strategic investments in those early years, we're going to pay for it in the long term. And I equate it to I've worked with manufacturers for a number of years, so I think a lot like them. I equate it to when you have a problem in terms of quality control in a manufacturing setting. You go back down the chain, you try to figure out where the process broke. And you take a strategic approach to fixing the process wherever it's broken. And one of the areas where we have a breakdown is in early childhood. Our kids are coming into schools. They've got a lot of challenges. If they're behind, once they hit kindergarten, first grade, they're going to be behind for a long time without significant investment remediation. So if we can have more kids ready on the front end, we're going to do a lot to help our community thrive, as well as help our employers find the workforce they need. The other area where the coalition has put focus is around middle school to high school career pathways. So working with kids that middle school age, when they're starting to think about careers, and talking to them about the great career opportunities we have in manufacturing and healthcare. Now, I get the question, why aren't you talking about agribusiness, which is an incredibly important field, as well as the tourism sector. We made a strategic choice to not try to boil the ocean. Let's focus on the two largest sectors of our economy where we have the most demand, and let's make sure kids are understanding those career opportunities that are available. And let's also make sure that there are bridges onto training, whether it's technical training or bridges to academic types of training, where these students are actually getting what they need to be ready and connected to the workforce. So those are a couple areas. And then another area where the coalition, and Justin has done a great job of leading this, is looking at what are some of the immediate in-demand training needs and employment needs in the area. There's been a couple of county-wide kind of gatherings of folks, and Vince has been part of that to discuss these needs. We've done a lot of surveying in the community. I can speak, for example, to the manufacturing sector. One of the most significant needs right now is hiring the people that keep the machines running and the lights on. We refer to them as industrial equipment technologists. These are people that are multi-skilled, that understand electrical, that understand how to fix a part, that understand how to fix a machine, who understand how to reprogram project logic controls in industrial equipment. As I look at Lillian, we have a huge need for primary care providers and a variety of specialists in this county. So how do we prepare as a community to meet those needs? One area related to the industrial equipment piece that Justin's been working on is getting the employers together to look at some of the existing curricula that we have in the community with Jamestown Community College, verifying that it meets the need, identifying gaps, figuring out how to fill those gaps, and then bringing together a coalition of groups to figure out how we get students in there. We can no longer look to our colleges and universities and say, you fix it, we as employers. We can't work that way anymore. We've got to work collaboratively with these institutions, help and work with them to overcome whatever challenges they have, and make sure we're getting more young people into the pipeline to fulfill these great opportunities. Vince mentions Athenex coming into the community. Huge, enormous economic opportunity, very exciting. They're going to need to hire a lot of these industrial equipment technologists. You go to Nestle Purina, Cliff Star, you go into Cummins, you go into Monofrax, you go into Trucklight, across the board, they'll tell you they need these people. Our school systems, our school districts, any healthcare facility needs these people with these skill sets to be able to keep these facilities running and keep the equipment running.
Absolutely, and so that's the homegrown piece, right? So the coalition is doing great work and building a homegrown workforce. How about the people that need to leave the area to get a higher degree? We're mentioning doctors, primary care providers. Athenex is going to have PhD, people with PhDs working for them. Is there any effort by the chamber or another entity that is kind of reaching out and grabbing on and selling this area, as we all talked about at the beginning?
Well, I think the healthcare sector is a demonstration of some great work. The Healthcare Action Team here in Jamestown, the Health Action, there's a countywide group as well, has done an amazing job of identifying kids that are interested in the medical sector who go off to school, who have an intent of getting a medical degree, and then staying in touch with them and inviting them back to the community and probably nagging their parents to make sure they come back to the community, as well as incentivizing, in some cases, some students to come back to the community. I think that's a great model. On the manufacturing side, I think a lot of the challenges we have in the manufacturing sector could be addressed with the population we have and some of the programming we have here in the region. But one area where we are having challenges and probably need to do more work similar to what the Healthcare Action Team is doing is the engineers and some of those higher level management positions. You know, we don't have an engineering school or a place where you can finish your degree right here in Chautauqua County. So, you know, we probably need to be doing a better job of identifying those kids that are interested in those types of careers and keeping an eye on them. But for a lot of employers, they're taking on a regional strategy. They're working with Rochester Institute of Technology, Penn State Behrend, UB, and the local institutions to figure out how to get that kind of talent into their facilities.
And that's very interesting. To kind of wrap up with you, Todd, on this swipe through the panel, what can young professionals do to make your life easier? How can we help you?
Well, how can we help you? We need leaders. We really do. We need young leaders to step up and step into some of the elected positions and those types of opportunities. We need your energy, your enthusiasm, your creativity, as well as your new perspectives. So I think that leadership arena, I think do what you do in terms of being creative and entrepreneurial. I think, well, I think it's true that the millennials often get a bad rap, but I'd remind everybody that we Generation Xers got a bad rap. I'm pretty sure the baby boomers got a bad rap by the generation prior to them. But we need to move beyond that, and we need to embrace the great young talent we have here. And help support that talent, again, into leadership roles and into the workforce, and help cultivate the entrepreneurial spirit that our millennials have. And I'll add one other request. I think more county-specific, we need millennials to help break down the silos we have. And there's been a lot of work done by a lot of people over many years, but that's work that needs to continue to happen. And that includes the silos and kind of these geographic challenges sometimes we have within our own county. We need millennials to be part of that effort to better connect our business sectors and our community sectors throughout Chautauqua County.
What a beautiful segue into our representative here from Dunkirk. So we'll talk about what now exists as, unfortunately, a silo to the north as opposed to Jamestown. Dunkirk, the second largest city in Chautauqua County, is that right? Doing great things, and I was just hoping that you could give kind of a summary of some of the highlights, recent highlights of Dunkirk.
Sure, no problem. Well, whenever someone asks me that question, what have you got going on in the planning and development department, I always like to start off in the planning side of things, because I think great communities are made out of great plans that speak to the community, that include projects that are noteworthy, that the people in their community want to see, and then projects that are implementable, because you could have a good plan, but without implementing that plan, then it's just going to sit on the shelf. So what we've really stressed when I've been in this position about a year now, and we've really looked at what are our planning efforts right now. And right now I'm happy to say that we've got 4 really great planning initiatives that we're working on, and one of those is specific is our BOA, the Brownfield Opportunity Areas program that we're just wrapping up, and that one has really spoke to not only the brownfield redevelopment, but it's almost took a turn towards a mini economic development plan for our waterfront, and has helped us create that vision of what we want to see in Dunkirk's downtown area. So out of that plan, we've kind of specified 15 priority sites that are specific to brownfield areas, but they're sites that are within our waterfront and our central business district, and we've developed specific programs and plans that we want to have in place at these locations. And what we were able to do was we were able to take that planning process and put it towards our grant application for this past year's round of the DRI funding. And unfortunately, we weren't able to win the full $10 million, but we were a part of the Smart Growth Funds through the Buffalo Billion Phase 2, and we were able to successfully get those $2.5 million to go towards our waterfront projects. So it's a small step in the right direction. On top of that, our BOA Phase 2 plan, we also are working with the county on our LWRP, which is our local waterfront planning initiative, specifically focused on, again, waterfront development. We also have a LISC zombie property survey, which is an entire residential housing survey of the entire city of Dunkirk to analyze what our housing stock is. We have a larger, older housing stock, so we want to focus our efforts on where we can improve that housing stock, especially when we're thinking about Phoenix coming and those people possibly moving to our city. How do we attract those people and retain those people in our community? And lastly, we are just starting our comprehensive plan, which is an umbrella for all of those planning efforts. So it focuses on the entire city as a whole, looking at our transportation, our land use, our zoning, all of those aspects that lead to the future of the city of Dunkirk. So those are kind of our planning efforts. From those planning efforts, we'll be able to take the projects that are within those plans and go for grant funds that we'll be able to implement those projects with. So in a nutshell, that's kind of where we're at from the planning side of things. On top of planning, we also have to look at development, and we're really doing a lot of things at the bottom-up approach, I'd say. Right now, we're focusing our efforts on our parks. We have a lot going on at Wright Park with implementing a splash pad and a play area and new amenities that millennials and families want to see in their communities. Also at Point Gratiot Park, we're upgrading all of our pavilions and rooftops on those pavilions and the beaches in that area so that those amenities exist within the city and attract people to our community. In addition to that, we also want to look at our trails that lead to those parks. So the connectivity between those parks and our waterfront and our downtown are something that we're really focusing on as well. And bringing that all together is really what we've been focusing on. In terms of major development, we're going to be seeing a lot at the waterfront. As I've already mentioned, we're going to be looking at hotel developments and a restaurant coming to the waterfront. We're also going to be working with our marina operator, Charles Pringle, on some newly acquired parcels that he's recently acquired on the waterfront, so creating new development there and creating a tourism attraction for our waterfront. And not only just tourism, but like Vince said, attracting those SUNY Fredonia students through our central connection right from the village of Fredonia, SUNY Fredonia, and the downtown Pier area. So we're constantly thinking about how can we attract those young professionals to our downtown.
That's great. And you didn't even mention, I mean, you mentioned Athenix in passing. NRG is another big event that's going on in Dunkirk, so there's a lot to be excited about. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, definitely.
One point on, and this is an interesting initiative, the Brownfield list. As I understand that, that's basically a win-win for both the city and the developer. There's a contaminated site that is cleaned up, and the developer gets tax credits. Do you want to just talk about how that fits within Dunkirk's initiatives?
Yeah, that's a great tool that we're going to be able to offer to developers. So it's going to be an incentive for development to happen on these brownfield sites. And brownfield sites aren't necessarily just vacant sites. They can be sites that once had a contaminated gas station or an old industrial site. So it's not just vacant property. And what that'll offer is, again, like you stated, incentives that new development will be able to happen there.
What are the next goals of the mayor of the city? I mean, you work closely with him. I mean, you're doing so many good things. Is there a next step, a next phase, something that you guys are looking at?
Well, we've been really focusing on waterfront development, and that's what we want to keep emphasizing. But at the same time, we can't forget about our central business districts, that Central Avenue core. And I think that's our next step, is to really be focusing our efforts on how can we create that central business district. How can we build it up again? How can we bring back small businesses to the area? How do we incentivize young entrepreneurs wanting to open up a business in downtown Dunkirk? So that would definitely be the next steps.
And you've obviously been very focused on Dunkirk, but are there any lessons that you've learned there that you think could apply around the county?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say in general, we have so many great geographical we've got the waterfront in Dunkirk. You've got the Chautauqua Lake. We need to emphasize that we have these great amenities out there. Young millennials are looking for outdoor activities. We're looking to go boating, to take a bike ride and get off, and then go grab a snack or grab a beer with friends. Those outdoor activities, I think, are what we need to be promoting more of, and I think that is definitely worth it across the county.
What's the young professional climate up in Dunkirk? Is there a group? Are you meeting? Are you just too busy to, get together? What's going on? And, this with the preface that once Athenix opens, there's going to be 400 some additional young professionals in Dunkirk.
We're definitely starting to meet more regularly. There is a small group that's formed. Monica Kemp at the Fredonia Incubator has really taken on that challenge of getting us all together, and right now we've been doing kind of a quarterly meeting, but we definitely want to increase that to a monthly kind of thing is the goal.
Exciting. Any suggestions about bridging the silo divide between Dunkirk and Jamestown? What in your mind needs to happen to have more intra-county collaboration?
I really think that as millennials start to take on more specific higher up jobs and stuff, I feel like that isn't as big of a case, the separation divide between millennials. I feel like it's the older generation, and
they've already pinned us in on this divide.
I have friends down in Chautauqua. I have friends down in the South County, and we love going back and forth to North County. Whether I go to Southern Tier Brewery and they come up to music on the pier, it's really, in my eyes, in our generation's eyes, I don't see as big of a divide. I think that the county has so much great things to offer that we just need to get past that.
Great, thank you. Chase, you still awake?
2 hours of sleep. So
all right, good.
I got a little bit left in
That's
me.
plenty. That's plenty. Why don't you give the crowd here a little bit of summary about Jamestown Electroplating, a little history, a little bit of what you guys are up to now?
Well, Jamestown Electroplating started in 1921 as a Star Plating Works and primarily just did nickel plating, just one line at the time. Throughout the years, it built up several different lines. In 1958, the name changed and it expanded, a new building, and kind of steady growth from there. I would say probably the turning point for the business was doing a lot of aerospace work. We do a lot of stuff for Marlin Rockwell Corporation, which is now SKF, Sikorsky, Bell Helicopter, Boeing, and a lot of that has really helped to spur the business forward. So my father bought the business in 1982. About the year I was born, and I never in my life imagined that I'd ever go work there, other than summers in college and high school and painting things and that kind of stuff. As things went on, I went away to school and came back and had a job in the area. Enjoyed my job, but my father asked me to come help him with some stuff at the shop. I said no over and over again until finally one day he caught me on the right day, and I decided to make the switch. I'm really glad I did now. As I said earlier, I never expected I'd be working there for what seems like probably going to be the rest of my life at this point. So things started to fit together there. As my father decided it was time for him to transition out, he mentioned to me that he was thinking about selling the business. And I kind of said, my other brother? I mean, I've been with the business as a part of us ever since I've grown up. And at that point, I said, well, how about you let me make an offer? And he said, I'd love that. That'd be great. And so from that point forward, we started working on a plan to transition ownership. And he said, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to finance this. You're going to have to figure it all out. And it was a big challenge, but last year, my brother and I went together on it, and he and I are co-owners of the business. And so that's really the history of the business now. We're still doing a lot of stuff for the aerospace industry. We branched out to automotive and lots of other sectors, as well as decorative hardware and things of that nature. So that's Jamestown Electroplating in a nutshell.
Great. And purchasing the business, that's a bit of a gamble on yourself, but it's a gamble on the company and Jamestown as a place to manufacture goods. What is it about Jamestown that makes it a good environment for your business?
Well, I think it's probably that we've been established as long as we have, and we've got good relationships with a lot of the businesses here in town that we do business with. But there are a lot of difficulties still. And I hate to transition into that aspect of it, but I think as Todd hit on, really for us, finding a workforce who, for some of the upper level positions, are qualified is a challenge. And that's been tough at times, but then also just finding employees who just want to show up every day and just do what they need to do. It's amazing. People come in for 3 days and then just not show up. And it's not a hard job. There's nothing hard about it, and it's a pretty decent pay. So I guess that would be one of the challenges that came to mind. So back to your question. So restate your question once more.
It was, you're gambling on yourself and Jamestown. The good things about working in Jamestown. What makes you see this as the place for you, your business, your family?
The location helps a lot too. We were able to draw business from, as much as I hate to say it, outside the county to come in and bring stuff in.
That's outside dollars. That's good stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Come from Buffalo, Erie, and some of those areas too. So I love to bring that in. I would say that it was definitely a gamble, and I took the gamble based on the people that I have in my business currently. When they go away, though, it's hard to replace them. Very, very challenging.
Have you faced any particular challenges as a young president, executive, being in that work environment based on your age?
I wouldn't say significant. I think people are fairly accepting of young people owning businesses and being out there. Every once in a while, you get somebody who kind of looks at you like, what are you doing here? Why are you sitting there? You shouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I think that I haven't seen a lot of, because of being fairly young, I haven't seen a lot of issues.
Guess stepping to manufacturing in general, how do you see that market in Chautauqua County and your business in general? Is it going to be a growth market? Is automation going to affect your life? What are some thoughts?
I'm not sure automation will affect us. I think that I see growth. I see fairly slow growth, and I'd like to see it it increased with manufacturers. I think really the only way to do that is to really do our best to try to pull manufacturers in, new ones or ones that look to relocate. That's a huge challenge, though. It can be a very big challenge. I hate to say this, but especially being so close to Pennsylvania. I think, Todd, you touched on workers' comp and insurance and taxes and things, and workers' comp in PA, I mean, New York is 4 times what it is in Pennsylvania, and it's just absurd. It really makes it so that it becomes a challenge for people to decide to stay here. So I'm not leaving anytime soon, but I think somebody, if they were right near the line, might say, yeah, I think we're just going to do it in PA. So again, as you said, we can't try to boil the ocean. I don't think there's a way to really attack that at this point. That's bigger. But maybe there's some ways we can help to overcome it and help to draw businesses in.
Well, I must say that I toured your facility, and it is pretty amazing, the things that you do there. So I was just blown away by the chemistry and the things that were coming out of there.
I'd love to be able to offer tours to anybody who'd like to see it too, just to kind of keep people knowing. So if you'd like to, just get a hold of me. I'd be happy to give you a tour.
That's great.
Show them the aquarium.
Yeah, show them the aquarium.
Yeah, I mean, tell about the aquarium. That's really interesting.
We changed our environmental system over to a closed-loop water treatment system. It used to be pumped out and have to be treated and sent out for treatment. And now we do almost all of that in-house, except for a very small amount of it. The treated water actually goes into an aquarium in our conference room that has beautiful tropical fish in it. And I guess the point of that was to show that we're very environmentally friendly. That is a huge priority to us. And a lot of the chemicals we work with are very dangerous, and they're things you don't want in the environment. But I think we show very well that when you handle them responsibly and you take the right precautions and you go by the letter of the law, you do things right, you can do things just fine. And so the fish tank is a good example of, none of them have 3 eyes, they're not huge, they're
all
beautiful,
normal-looking
fish. So.
And with those environmental efforts, you've gotten a number of certifications and related to that effort. Is that right?
Yeah, we have. We've had lots of awards, and we're just getting ready to change our environmental system over to the new ISO standard. They're just getting ready to change that. We were one of the first electroplaters to get in the ISO environmental standard. There's still very, very many of them that are not, they don't even look at it. And I'm thrilled when people come to our shop. They often say, wow, this is really, really clean for a plating shop. And I say for a plating shop because if you've ever been in a plating shop, they're usually absolutely filthy and kind of scary.
I thought it was clean for a regular shop. I've never been to a plating shop, so it was very cool. Do you have any advice for young people who want to take over a business, run a business, be in management? What is your advice?
There's no substitute for experience. You've all heard it before, but my advice is find a mentor. Find somebody who knows what you don't know, and try to learn from them. If you are going to buy a business, the deal I made with my father is I said, all right, here's the deal. If I buy the business from you, you're not leaving. You got to hang out. I'll pay you a salary, but you need to stay here. And I would advise you all, if you do that, it's a good way to really get a good transition and learn the business before you get in there. Really, find a mentor, or a couple of them, really. Listen to all the advice you can get. Doesn't mean you have to actually utilize it or put it into effect, but listen to it, because there's a lot of smart people in our community. A lot of people have accomplished a lot around here, and when you see somebody you respect or that you really think has got things figured out, I encourage you to go out and see if you can buy them a coffee, take them to lunch, strike up a conversation, and just make a long relationship with them, because there are going to be times where you'll have questions you don't know who to ask, and it's nice to have a mentor or a couple of them to go to.
In other words, Chase is looking for people to take him out for coffee. Is that right?
I'm not sure I could serve as a mentor at this point here. I'm pretty new in all of this. So.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
That was very interesting. Jonathan, let's give the folks a summary of Panama Rocks and the thought process behind the Wild America Festival and results.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'm really excited to be here. It's just, I get energized hearing people like you took over the family business and everyone here. I mean, it's really exciting to me. So Panama Rocks has been a park, a privately owned and operated park for 137 years. It's older than the state park system. It's a beautiful place. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I assume most people are familiar with it. I came back in 2013, started running the place in 2014 through just new marketing. I'm more familiar with social media and internet is more than my parents were. I think that's one thing that younger professionals kind of just more in tune with. That we've been able to grow the business almost double in 4 years, which has been great. But throughout that, one of the questions I got asked the most, we used to do festivals, we used to do folk festivals, and I get asked, are you ever going to do a festival again? And I'd say, well, we'll see. I mean, they're notorious for being difficult to put on. Everyone I talked to about doing it said, man, you're going to lose your pants for 3 years before you can make any money. Big risk. And well, so we'll think about it. And so we partnered with the Roger Troy Peterson Institute and we worked on it for a few years, the idea, on the Wild American Nature Festival. It was a great success. We had about 4,000 guests in the first year, which for a first year I think is great. It's right in the middle of our target range. We had over 40 really high quality nature artists, local and regional, highlighting artists in the area. Five award-winning chefs, 4 local, and my sister who's from here but lives in Vermont. All utilizing local food in a local food cook-off, so all of our guests were trying food from the area. My sister, used Aber's Acres and food from some other farms. We had local wildlife rehabbers, falconers, showing animals that lived in the area, local musicians. And it really highlighted, and I'm very proud of that, it really highlighted, I think, some of the best that we have of the wild, nature, and outdoors in our area. And we had local nonprofits, the Watershed Conservancy, Greystone Nature Preserve, the Audubon Sanctuary, present and talking to people about what they did, and people were really excited about it. I just had someone who came back again today who was at the festival, and the general consensus is everyone had a great time, so we're very excited to continue it on. And like I said, I believe that for our success, we need to be highlighting what's available in this area. And we have so many wonderful things. As I started to prepare for this panel, I was a little introspective and thought about what brought me back, but then I also wondered, what brought other people back here, and are there any similarities or differences? So I did a little bit of research, and I found that, according to Trevor Langen of the National League of Cities, 57% of college graduates now move to someplace, not because they have a job there, but because they want to live there. The Knight Foundation and Gallup did a study called the Soul the City Project, and they found that young professionals, more than financial considerations, move to an area for 3 reasons. Aesthetics, like your parks, lakes, the natural beauty of a place, the social offerings, the bars, the nonprofit organizations, the events happening in a place, and then the openness of a place, how open a place is to people of different backgrounds, religious, et cetera, race, et cetera. And I just think we have really a lot of that. As you saw in the video, we have, for a small city, we do have diversity. I think Rico Chandra from Reverie was the first person to talk on there. I mean, we have wonderful aesthetics. We have hundreds of thousands of people who visit our county every year to see how beautiful it is and to experience it. We have great and growing social offerings. I mean, I love hanging out in downtown Jamestown. I love going out. There's always something happening. I can't, especially with a 2-year-old, welcome, you just can't do things. There's always something going, rats, I wish I could do that.
Baby going.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it lasts for like an hour, at least at this point, if I'm lucky. So I'm really excited about this area, and the more I just got into it. The more I read and the more I researched, I'm kind of a nerd. And the more I realized that attracting young professionals to an area, and I see what's happening that's exciting me, like Jeff and Frank over at Labyrinth in Brazil, Journey with the Comedy Center, and I don't want to be dismissive, there's so many young professionals in this area who are doing innovative entrepreneurial things, including those in this panel. But by 2025, in 8 years, 75% of the workforce, according to the Brookings Institute, will be millennials. Enrico Moretti, who wrote a book called The Geography of New Jobs, said that this attracting young professionals is a growth that feeds on itself. It's the more people you attract. Todd mentioned that one of the most significant factors for a business looking to locate or relocate someplace is workforce. And Area Development Magazine, which is one of the top business development magazines out there for the last 5-10 years, it's been a consistent number one or number 2 consideration. And so Enrico Moretti said the more young professionals you have come, the more companies are interested in locating, then the more professionals are interested in coming. So it's a growth that snowballs and builds upon itself. There's a guy from Harvard, Edward Glaser, who's a preeminent researcher of regional economic development, and he said the single most successful economic development, I'm quoting right now, this most successful economic development policy is to attract and retain smart people. And how do you do that? Again, the Soul of the Cities project, you focus on your amenities, the things you have to offer that you discussed. You focus on the social offerings, the fun things that are out there. You focus on the open, make an open and welcoming community. And I really do think we have that. My kind of two takeaways from this, and it's an honor to be on a panel with Vince. I'm a huge fan, Vince. I'm very sad to see you leaving, but he's been a cheerleader for this, as you could see from the first thing he said, a cheerleader for this area for as long as he's been the county executive. And he really, the first time I heard you talk, I was like, man, I like that guy. He really has done a great job promoting this area, promoting tourism. He was on the board of the Visitors Bureau when he was the county executive. He's been there present, he was on the legislature, he's been there present as the executive. So one, develop and continue to develop tourism. Because those same tourism attractions that attract people to this area are the things that local people like to do. The bars that we enjoy, the cultural outings that we like to enjoy. That portion of the business, it's tourism, helps keep us afloat. So those provide the things that people love to do here. And then the second thing, Vince has done a great job engaging millennials, engaging young people through the CAP program, internships, and et cetera. I hope that the next county executive, whomever it is, builds upon that. And I really do think that there's an opportunity here to make, at the county level, attracting young professionals to this area a specific developmental initiative. I'd love to see, I'm on the board of the Visitors Bureau, I'd love to work more with the chamber and work at the county level, work with businesses to talk about what we can do to further make this area more attractive to young professionals. I would like to see as a development initiative when we're filling out grants, for tourism grants, for economic development grants, to say one of the questions be, how will this help attract young professionals to Chautauqua County? I think that the more we do that, the more we make this a front and center issue, the better we'll get at it. And we've been doing a good job at it so far, but I love this area. I think it's wonderful, and there's a lot of good reasons to move here. So I know I kind of went on and went off topic there, but yeah.
It's interesting because it seems that, not only is the success of Panama Rocks important to you, but really the entire collective success of the county.
We won't be there. We won't. Panama Rocks will not keep its doors open if this area fails. We'll shut down. We can't. Something like 70+% of our business is from outside Chautauqua County, but that 25-30%, that's my paycheck, So it's really, yeah, of course, and I think everyone here knows that. And one of the things you mentioned, automation, I think to you, Chase, right? And maybe your industry won't be affected by it, but the industry for spatial analysis estimates that. Let me see. I actually wrote it down here. Within the next 20 years, our area, 60% of the existing jobs will be gone. That doesn't mean all jobs are gone. That means, I think over the last, 30% of the jobs in the last 25 years are jobs that didn't exist 25 years ago. But we need a workforce that's prepared for the jobs of tomorrow. And that's, I think, what Todd and Justin are working on right now. And, we need those young professionals here who are nimble and mobile and able to adapt.
Absolutely. I agree with all that. There's no argument. Changing gears just a touch to Visitors Bureau. What your role, I'm guessing, is involved in ecotourism, marketing through social media. Why don't you talk about your experiences there?
The board works very hard to make sure that there is a representation both from around the county. We try to, not ignore, but make sure there isn't a north-south divide. We have representation from throughout the county and throughout industry. So yes, I'm more in the ecotourism personally, but my main thing with the Visitors Bureau is that I co-chair the marketing committee with Journey Gunderson from the Comedy Center, and we really work closely with the staff, working with the guidance. So you saw Journey in that video, you saw Vanessa Weinert from Chautauqua, who was just promoted further up marketing in that video. We have they're both on the marketing committee. So we work very hard to market tourism in this area to get people from outside Chautauqua County to come here. We analyze the data. We figure out where, is Facebook or Google, what's working the best, what's the most effective advertisements and most effective marketing that will get people here. We work to create the content, the videos, the photos. And Megan Arnone, who's of course was over there as the new marketing staffer over there, is doing a phenomenal job.
What more can be done to sell the county?
Yeah, so I mentioned the Soul of the Cities project, and the woman who had that up is from Minneapolis. And one of the things that she said when working with the city of Minneapolis is stop talking about the weather negatively. Some people, and I said this just to Frank over at the Labyrinth today, I like seasons. I mean, we need to be positive about our area. So instead of complaining about the snow, talk about how we have look at the video again, great skiing, great snowboarding. I mean, some people travel to Colorado to see snow, I mean, we have great lake effect snow here. I think it's wonderful, especially for our skiing, snowboarding, snowmobiling, snowshoeing. Celebrate that, hey, the snow doesn't stop us from going out at night, doesn't stop us from doing activities. I think that having that positive messaging is important. And whenever you see someone online or in person saying, and Len Berry over at the Reg is a master of this, if you see someone comment, oh, there's nothing to do, he's like, oh, well, how about X, Y, and Z, and 1, 2, 3, and look at all the things that are happening this weekend. I'm sure you could find, there are more things to do here than I can do possibly in a night. I mean, my schedule's full, and especially with a child, but even before the child, I can't keep up. So I think it's that positive messaging, and Vince has been great at that, and we all need to be sure we're good at that and keep it up, and make sure when we have our friends, when we see them, being a little bit negative, highlight the positive, because I think that's the reality of our area. It really is a great place to live. We all chose to, every single person on this board chose to move back to this area because we love it, and you did too, and I see a lot of other people here that did as well.
It's a beautiful message. Can I get a time check? 6:56. Oh my goodness, look at that timing. Then I want to throw out a question to everyone, and we can start with Jonathan this time. What is your view of the future of Chautauqua County economy? Where are we headed? And then any closing remarks?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I see a great deal of positive things happening here. I love hanging out in downtown Jamestown, for example. I mean, when I left for college, I would not have said that. I think there's a lot of positive developments happening. The Comedy Center is one of them. The excursion train research, I really hope that happens, because I'm excited about it. I think that'd be great. When I see people like this coming back to take over the business, I think it's wonderful. But we are not in the clear by any means. We need, almost every other single person on this panel has talked about the need for young professionals, the need for people to fill jobs. We actually have jobs, so look at businesses in this area. It's a great cost of living, 18% lower than the national average. But we could slip. We need to keep our amenities strong. We need to keep our manufacturing jobs strong. Todd said you can't boil the ocean, you can't, but if we slip, if we do not have the workforce that will adapt to those new jobs in the next 20 years, I'm very frightened of what would happen. I think we can, and I think we will do it, but we need to stay on the ball and not be complacent about it.
Chase, future of the county.
Yeah, I'm certainly more optimistic now than I was 5 or 7 or 8 years ago. I certainly see a lot of stuff improving, and I think what John said about that snowball effect of pulling in young professionals to the area, and then businesses want to put down roots here because of that. They've got the workforce to draw from, and then the cycle starting all over again is really something that I think that we should concentrate on. And I've seen it a little bit happening, but cautiously optimistic, I think, is a good way to put it. It seems like things are headed the right direction. But if we don't stay on track and if we don't keep pushing forward in creating a great place for people to live and enjoy their lives, as well as run a business and raise a family, I think that it could backslide and go the other direction. So I think I would have to mirror what Jonathan said exactly.
Rebecca?
I'm highly optimistic.
Here we go.
I believe that we're going in the right direction. I think that Jamestown is doing great things. I think that the city of Dunkirk is close behind in economic development terms. I'm excited to see the future of Dunkirk and the future of Chautauqua County, and I think that with the state's investment in our county, that's only proof that things are only looking up from here, and that state investment, I think, is going to also attract some new businesses, hopefully new investments, and new changes for our community. So I'm excited.
Todd?
I'm a chamber executive. I have to say, the future is wonderful.
With your help, Todd, of course.
A lot of futurists talk about how our nation, our economies work through seasons. So, winter, if you look over time, winter started with the revolution in this country. The second winter came with the Civil War. The third wave of winter came with World War II. And then our winter in our time came with 9/11. And I like to put my bet on the futurists and where they're going with this thought that we're coming out of winter over the next few years. We've, to Vince's point, we hunkered down and we fought and, hammered away for hours and hours and have what my basketball coach, and I never understood until I got older, would refer to as intestinal fortitude to drive through until things came out the way we wanted them to. I think we're heading into spring here shortly in our community, in our region, and again echoing some of the various projects, whether it's the National Comedy Center, whether it's Phoenix, whether it's just the strong entrepreneurial spirit we continue to have in this community. Those are the things that are going to drive us into spring. And I think an important part of that is the millennials we have, and I'm extremely optimistic about where millennials are going to take us. I've got 4 of them in my home, and raising kids has its challenges, but when I sit down with them and I look at what they're studying, they ask me to help me with their homework, and I'm like, I haven't taken a Regents in like 25 years or whatever. Sorry. But it's mind-blowing what they're learning. And the data shows, the millennial generation will be the most educated generation of all time. I really believe and have hope in where millennials are going to take us and guide us and lead us.
Vince?
Well, Todd had a little pitch he gave at the chamber dinner about I believe, and how can you not believe in this county with the people that we have and the programs, the natural resources, good schools. I said I was talking to these kids at Faulkner this morning, and they're just inspired, and they really want to do good stuff. Across the nation and really in New York State, hospitality tourism is the fastest growing part of our economy. There's people that tend to say, we don't need that. We need, more manufacturing. Yes, we need it all. We need everything. But we have to embrace those things that are happening before our eyes. And when I look at the healthcare sector, I'm excited about it. When I look at hospitality, tourism, and hotels going up, I'm excited about it. When I look at our manufacturing, not only retention, but the new opportunities coming our way in pharmaceutical, cancer drug manufacturing. incredible worldwide customer base. And you listen to Johnson Lau, who's the CEO of that company, saying why he picked Chautauqua County. He said, how can you not? It's a fabulous place to do business. It's great, and they've got what it takes. That's why we're going to invest $2.6 billion. So I believe that the future is very, very bright. And I'll tell you, where I see the synergy and the opportunity is when we come together. I talk a little bit about the regional focus. But as millennials, people, younger people, willing to tear down the silos and say, you know what, we're more powerful together. I used to gave the pitch of, I flew fighters in the Air Force, single-seat F-16s. And if we had a tough mission, we didn't go by ourselves. We went in formation. We went with 4, 8, or 16. And so this county, moving forward, if we can go together, and I don't care what sector you're in, if we can go together, we are going to be all that we can be out there, and the future will be bright. We did a bicycle ride, the Grand Fondo. We had 500 people, bicycle riders this year. 70% came from outside Chautauqua County. 70% to experience it. The same thing with the LECOM Health Challenge. People coming here for the first time saying, this is incredible what's going on here. So I believe that the future is very, very bright. I'm very happy to be able to kind of turn it over to some new energy, some new ideas, some fresh ideas. But we have to believe in ourselves and believe in this county, because that's what it takes. The power of attitude is everything. You've seen that thing, the attitude and the little circles. Attitude is everything. And I'm excited that there's a bunch of people that embrace that attitude. Because that's where we're going to be, and good things are coming. There's challenges, and so we attack those. We go after the challenges. And I applaud Dr. Ney and all the work she's done in the healthcare and our drug challenges and all those. We have to go after them and stick with it. So I believe, and I'm excited about this, and pretty excited about the opportunity to be with all you youngins out there.
I think we all agree that I enjoyed this immensely. Thank you, each and every one of you, for spending the time, giving your perspectives, and it makes me want to kind of run out into the streets and see how I can make a change. So I hope it had the same effect on everyone else. So thank you very much.
I got to mention one last thing. I was at the Bemis Inn on Sunday, and a young professional and his wife were there, and she said, I want to introduce you to my brother. He's an attorney out in California. And we're trying to convince him to move back here. And he is really thinking about it. There's another attorney that graduated from the same school, Georgetown. Who's that? Matt. So anyway, you may have some competition there of another guy. But here's young people bringing other ones back. So. True statement. True story.
That's good.
Well, we did promise a few minutes of Q&A, so if you did have a question that you wanted to ask for our panelists, now would be an opportunity. If not, we'll close up. What? Oh yeah, I was going to say that too, but I was going to... Does anybody have any questions for our panelists? No.
Well, I'm sure they'll stick around. Oh, go ahead.
We might have one.
They came back. You can't bring Jamestown or Chautauqua County back from the 1980s. And the thing is, it was manufactured. Marlin Rockwell's gone. Your Crescent 2 wrench is gone. So now you got to move on into this technology manufacturing. And that's what I hear when I go and listen to, I'll say it, when you go out to the coffee drinkers and you hear they say, well, geez, it's too bad that Jamestown wasn't like it was. Downtown wasn't like it was. Well, you can't bring it back. You got to move on and move forward. And don't look what it was. When they drive by and they say, gee, this was Crescent 2, this was in Marlin Rockville, this was 24/7. This building, this area was, was non-stop. Yeah, but that was back then. Now it's technology. Now I do a lot of traveling in here, Pennsylvania, and you can't, like you got General Electric, and now we have Cummins. Well, you can't really, not the whole county can't depend on a Cummins plant. Like everybody years ago, they wanted to go to Marlin Rockville.
Right, and I think that's kind of getting at what Jonathan was talking about when you were saying that part of the perspective of the community is really to infuse a positive energy and to address that, we don't talk negatively about the community because there are things happening. And as somebody who didn't originally grow up in this community, I have really no idea what Jamestown was. And so for me, it's really exciting to see what Jamestown has become, even in the 5 years since I've been here. And so I think this is kind of the essence of this conversation really is about this growth and this kind of this new season, if you will, Todd, this new season of Jamestown and of Chautauqua County, and really what we're doing and what our millennials and our young professionals are coming into the area and seeing and watching this area grow has been really exciting. So I think that's kind of the essence of this conversation, is that this is a new season for us, and that's really exciting. All right, with that, I would like to once again just remind you that we have another event on October 24th that we would love to see you at the BPU, same time, 5:30 to 7 o'clock. If you are new and you've never come to one of our Young Professionals event, we have a sign-up sheet outside. We'd love to get your name and your information so that we can reach out to you so that you have new events that are coming. If this is something that's exciting to you and you would like to see more of these events, please reach out to us and tell us. We are always asking for new ideas because we are. As young professionals, we're invested in our community, and we're invested in really connecting and building and growing this community and making connections across the county. So thank you very much.
Inaccessible on Facebook.
Oh yes, please follow us on Facebook. You can get all of our information there. Social media plug.
Good job. Thank you very much.